But some kinds of wealth can't be owned. Now, one has to go through this process. Is it wealth? If it's owned wealth, then it's property. Is it a valid form of property, therefore? And is it then the kind of property that you can trade? And there is this progression of questions.
So Sheikh Tarek, what he does here, alhamdulillah, which a lot of people do, is they explain to us, you, the viewer, what processes the scholars go through in order to determine whether or not something is halal, like in terms of this discussion of Bitcoin. What are the things that they have to, what are the kind of questions they need to answer? What kind of things are they looking at? And this is very important and very good to help people understand why ulama may accept or reject certain things. These are the things that they're looking at. And this is very important foundation. Now, before we continue, I would like to say, or put forward a hypothesis. I say that there are essentially three types of people as it relates to Bitcoin. Those who outright reject Bitcoin, either due to ignorance of how it works or due to maybe an assumption. Well, I guess an assumption of how it works is the same as ignorance of how it works. Also, in terms of vested interest, maybe what we currently have works good enough in their view that something that threatens that could potentially open up the public to a lot of harm, which is unexpected. So these basically there are reasons why they outright reject Bitcoin or don't even give it any consideration. They now say that they are a second type of person. And this is a person who has heard the objections of the ulama and does not really wish to step on their toes, doesn't really wish to challenge what is prevalent, and is content in waiting for scholars or ulama to either adjust their view or maybe even maintain it. And I think you'll find there are many people like that. If you go to one of my videos earlier on, I had a discussion with Faris, Shaykh Faris, Da'i in UAE. In our discussion, he made it very clear that Shaykh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili, rahimahullah, had a view that Bitcoin is haram, and that's the view he takes. And he was not interested in discussing the premise of the tahrim or the prohibition. The Shaykh has spoken, and I just say what the Shaykh says. So there's no willingness to really discuss and expand the discussion, because maybe they feel that scholars have spoken. It's not my place to really object in what they say. So I will only just reiterate what they say or string off the arguments that they bring and leave it at that. There are definitely there are many who are like that, category 2. And category 3 are those who maybe have looked into Bitcoin a bit more, maybe a bit more adventurous, and are willing to say the things that may upset others, that may contradict what others say, and don't really have much consideration about objections in that review. I mean, obviously, everyone has their point of view, but I think I believe that Shaykh Tarek is of the second category. I think he does feel, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think he does feel that Bitcoin has a very strong case, but because others have objected to it, and maybe he sees us others as being more senior to himself, I think he's trodden the safer path of not really objecting to what they say. I feel that, maybe, but we'll see. So Shaykh Tarek has just delved a little bit more deeper into some of the reasons why something would be prohibited to be property, although it probably has a use case and probably has ability to possess and other things, is because of, essentially, it's prohibited. Like, for example, the sale of dogs or pigs or alcohol. So generally speaking, the ulama, due to sadd al-dhari'ah, this is one of the principles of Islamic Sharia, or the evidences, you could say, adillah. It's called sadd al-dhari'ah, closing the doors to haram. So something that could be in fundamentally halal, but could lead to haram, becomes haram. So why would a Muslim want to buy and facilitate, or what, why would a person own a pig? What's the purpose? unless it wants to eat or benefit from the pig, and we know that pig is haram to benefit from. So therefore, it's prohibited. And there are many reasons why something. But basically, the point is that if something is haram in essence, then it becomes something which cannot be traded. But this is, ironically, it's not really the view of the Hanafiya. Hanafis allow the sale of these kind of things. Obviously, and there's an issue of discussion. But the point is, what he tried to say is, even if something is halal, I mean, even if something can technically be property, and you could own it or benefit from it, it essentially can still be prohibited and not money. So that's a very important point to mention.